Okay, we're ready to rock and roll, kiddo.
Cool.
Wait, I have an intro for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Today, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. She is a breathwork coach, corrective exercise specialist, certified yoga teacher, mentor, dog owner, content creator, and most importantly, a mother. Please give it up for Erin Wilson.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is my first time using this system, so before you got on, I was like playing around with it, and I saw that they had this applause, and I had this all planned out.
You're like,
It's
this is
goofy, but
happening. This is
yeah.
happening. Very cool.
Okay. So I do have some questions. I gave you them before,
I
but
forgot them already.
okay. So, all right. I guess before I ask you some of the questions, I'll share how we first met. How's that
Yeah,
sound?
I like
Okay.
that.
So I was I was living in Hawaii for 3 months doing work trade on a farm, and I was working on this farm for like 6 hours a day, and then working out, and then under eating, and just really pushing myself to the limits. And when I
Mhm.
got home, I was landed in the airport and had a brutal panic attack in the airport. Thought I was dying. Took a kneel in front of the TSA guy, and he basically thought I was on drugs. He's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "No, I need help. I need help." But then 3 days later, after that was all over, I was sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden, I couldn't breathe. My chest was super tight. It was locked up. It wouldn't move. I've never felt this sensation in my life. So I had no choice but to start looking online like everyone does when they get health problems, because, you know. And I ended up finding you, though. So I actually did find something good out of it. And that's how you and I met. So, Erin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started in your work?
Very cool. So I've been in health and wellness for 20 years. A lot of those certifications that you mentioned, I got a long time ago, but I was afflicted basically about 7 years ago with just like what I would call a nervous system overload. That's what I would categorize it as now. I was looking back over this like past week at some of the notes I wrote out because I saw all the doctors. I went to everybody kind of searching for answers, but I had so many symptoms. I was not only did I have the breathing issues, hyperventilation, panic attacks that I had never had before in my life, but I had back pain, I had pelvic pain, I had tightness in my stomach, I was tightening up my jaw, I was dizzy, I had headaches, I couldn't sleep, my heart was just like pounding. When I had the panic attacks, I felt like I was dying, obviously. I couldn't breathe. And then after the panic attacks, I had kind of similar to you that chest tightness and this inability to take like a satisfying breath. I just kept wanting to breathe more and more and more. I was like reaching for the perfect breath or just a satisfying kind of regular breath. And I was just like, everything was tight, everything was tension. And I was really scared. Like,
Mhm.
I was really fearful. Every time I went to the doctor and all the blood work I got done, all the tests I got done, they're like, you're fine. And then the word anxiety started to come up. You just have anxiety, you just have anxiety. And I was like, okay, well, this is new for me. I've felt anxiety before, but I've never like had anxiety before. And my nervous system was just like shot. I'm gonna see if I hit all of my I had ear ringing. That was one of my
Nice.
other fun symptoms. Tongue tingling.
Mhm.
That was another really fun symptom. Like, yes, I had everything. Like, it was
Did you ever
crazy.
get out of body? Like where you just never felt
I
like
did
you were in
not
your
get
body?
depersonalization,
What? You were
first
so
of all.
lucky. You
I
were
know.
so lucky.
I've heard a lot of my clients have had that, and that doesn't sound very fun.
Oh my God, it's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I never had that. Tell me what that feels like from
Oh,
your
you
perspective.
can't. You literally can't. You literally cannot explain it to anyone. I try. People just look at you and they're like, you're crazy or you're making this up. It's
Yeah.
like, you just like, the feeling is like, you just no longer feel your body. Like a lot of people would be like, oh my God, that feels good. You don't have any aches, pains, anything like that. It literally feels like you're just floating. It feels like you were just pure consciousness and you're just accidentally like lingering in this body. Everything,
Mhm.
nothing is connected. You don't feel grounded. You don't feel like a human. You're just
Yeah.
you're so disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
think so.
disconnection is a big part of anxiety I've learned through my experience and working with people. And I really think anxiety comes down to like a separation. Like that's kind of what the word means in Greek. It's a separation. And I think we separate from ourselves, from loving, kindness, compassion. We become really fearful and critical and harsh and have a lot of shame sometimes. So we really like distance from ourselves. We separate from other people because when you're feeling all of this, you're not like eager to go out, and hang out with your friends. You tend to isolate and
Mhm.
avoid, and you're so distracted with the symptoms that you disconnect. I did from loving relationships and friendships and even like serving people, helping people, um, your meaning and purpose. And then I also think we disconnect from God. So I think there's a spiritual, at least in my journey, this was very much not just a physical, not just an emotional thing, but also a spiritual thing. And so had all these symptoms, and we're talking like months,
Mhm.
a year it took me to kind of get out of this pattern. It took a while.
Mhm.
And I knew how to breathe. I had already gotten certifications in Pilates and in yoga, meditation. I had been teaching those types of things. So I really did know I was breathing wrong. Like I went to several doctors. I'm like, no, 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 I'm breathing wrong. Like I'm breathing wrong. And they're like, you're fine. Your oxygen's fine. Like you're fine. Even my CO2 level was fine. But
Mhm.
I just knew that the pattern and the pace of my breathing was very irregular. And so I leaned into that. So for me, like with all those symptoms, I had to kind of be my first client. And now what I do with the people that I work with is I'm the coach I needed in that moment. Like I'm try to be the support that they're kind of looking for. I try to guide, I try to teach and educate because when you have so much fear and it is truly like a complex nervous system thing and I'm always for going to the doctor and making sure you've been checked up, making sure it's nothing else. But if it's presenting as anxiety, if it's the nervous system kind of just overloaded, which happens to so many people for so many different reasons, like I really think if we start to lean towards wellness, when somebody says wellness, I'm talking about you're like a multidimensional person, right? And so it's not just your physical wellness, but also your emotional, mental wellness, your spiritual health, your social well being, your occupation and financial health, as well as your environment where you live and your intellectual health. How are you feeding the brain and stuff like that? So I look at whole person wellness and I really just teach people what I learned on this journey to heal myself. Because I was offered a lot of antidepressants. I was offered a lot of medication, a lot of pain medication, a lot of um, a lot of that kind of stuff, pills. And I just, from my holistic kind of background, I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait. That might be an
Mhm.
option. But for me,
Mhm.
that's last resort.
Yeah.
Because I remember speaking to a doctor and being like, will I be on this medication forever? And he's like, most likely, and usually we have to increase the dosage as time goes on. And I'm like, so are we really solving the problem? Are we really getting to the root of it? And he was like, yeah, it helps. It helps a lot of people. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to wait on that prescription and I'm going to do as much as it depends on me
Mhm.
to really take care of my well-being because I knew there was areas that I could improve. And so that's what I leaned into. And that's what I do with clients. It's a little um, gray, maybe. It's a little different, I think, because
Mhm.
each client's different, each client's unique. But I also think that's the beauty of it, of walking with people through this.
So what was the exact thing that caused you to go into this effect? What was like mine was that panic attack in the airport. What was for you that caused you to pretty much, break down?
Well, it happened in my postpartum period. So I have 2 kids and happened in postpartum, so I think I was more susceptible. I think also I don't think a lot of women talk about this, but for me, my pregnancy wasn't, or my labor, the actual giving of birth was very terrifying. Now I can look back on it and understand a little bit more, but I was very, very triggered during the labor. You're in so much pain. I panicked. Like I just panicked. And I was basically hyperventilating during labor,
Mm,
which isn't the best thing. Now, I learned later on in my story some of my manifestation of this anxiety and a lot of the kind of emotions I had been holding were connected to trauma, a sexual trauma that happened to me when I was much younger that I kind of had repressed. I like
mm,
just never talked about it, never told anybody about it, never talked to anybody about it, never did anything about it, just stuffed it down. And the more I work with people, the more I see that there's connections there, whether it's a big trauma, like an acute trauma, or maybe a more complex trauma, maybe just being in an environment that was maybe verbally abusive, even. There is a connection there to suppressing or repressing emotions that I think can come up out later as present as anxiety or even depression, some of
mm.
these other mental illnesses.
Yeah.
So I think that's,
So,
kind of what it was connected to. Yeah.
okay. And so then what was how did you end up getting yourself out of it? Like what was kind of your breakthrough moment, I guess, when you were like, okay, I'm in this, and maybe you were trying some other stuff, maybe you were, thinking this was working or this didn't work.
I
What was
tried everything. No, I was trying a lot. I think what shifted for me was when I decided it's that doctor's appointment that I mentioned to you. I had been to so many different doctors,
Mm,
and he told me that I was going to be on medication the rest of my life, that I just kind of needed to accept that. And I remember walking out and being like, no, like, no. And so I felt in that moment, I kind of took my power. Like I stopped being so much of a victim and I started to look for like I took radical responsibility is what I call it.
mm,
I was like, I need to look to my wellness. I'm a wellness coach. Like I got a degree in physiology and a master's degree in physiology and wellness coaching. I'm like, I need to look within here, and I know I'm out of alignment in certain areas. I didn't quite know what it all was, but I knew that it was worth leaning in and starting to heal and learn and grow. And that takes courage. Like that takes bravery and willingness versus had I, and that's the fork in the road for me. Had
mm,
I taken the medication, and I'm not against medication, it really does help some people, really, really does. But I think had I taken it, I would have never uncovered that trauma. I would have never healed from it. I would have I just would have missed all of this. That kinda like that's led me to where I get to help people now with this. Like, I would have missed
mm,
it all. And so,
yeah,
yeah, I took the long way. I definitely took the
mm,
long way around. I started to pursue things that helped. I kind of looked at anxiety. Okay, what feeds my anxiety? Right? I started to take inventory. What's feeding my anxiety? Scrolling, doom scrolling, isolating, right? Um, even your nutrition, your movement, getting outside, like all of that was
mm,
helping my anxiety. And I started to starve the things that were fueling it.
right.
I started to learn about
Yeah.
anxiety, right? Like I studied it. And I think learning is one of my biggest attributes. I turned all of my fear into curiosity.
Mhm,
And that's really, really important if you're trying to
mm,
change anything because fear is just going to keep you stuck,
yeah.
right? If you start to get curious about your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, your behaviors, then you can start to see, okay, you're not so fused by them and scared of them and hiding from them and running from them. You're starting to kind of have a little more compassion and being like, okay, what am I thinking that's making my anxiety worse? That takes ownership to start to look at your thoughts. I had a lot of victim thoughts that I had to renew and restore. I mean, and a lot of my clients have these thoughts. It's like, I've tried everything and nothing works.
Mhm.
I'll never get better. I can't handle this, or I need someone to fix this for me. So they
Yeah.
offload their healing on other people. What else? Like, I'll start once I feel better, I'll start doing things again. Once I feel better, I'll exercise again. Once I feel better, I'll hang out with people again. And it's like they'll shrink their world.
Mm.
Or like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why
Mhm.
not them? That's all victim thinking. And
Yeah.
that just fuels anxiety, right?
Yeah. One big thing that the reason I found you was because you were relatable. You were one of the first person to say like, I can't breathe. This is tough. I'm like, I've never heard that. So for me, it was very comforting, I guess, to like hear someone in the exact same situation because it just puts a thing of like, oh, if they can heal, I can too.
Yeah.
So when you were, and you don't have to live in it very long, but what was a day for you like when you were like in the middle of this? Like from the time you woke up to the time you go to bed, like how did it look when you were actively suffering and struggling? What were those sensations like? Like when you wake up, were instantly like, were you tight? What was it like? Like just walk
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah, I think I would wake up with what a lot of people wake up with, which is like immediately going to symptom monitoring, like almost like
Oh yeah.
checking in, like, okay, what's today? What pain? I had a lot of pain, I had a
Mhm.
lot of chronic pain, I had a lot of tension. And so I would kind of scan, and then it would immediately be like, oh no, which, oh no, is fear, right? Like I'd immediately go into a fear state.
Mhm.
And then the rest of the day, it's literally being consumed by the symptom
Mhm.
and 100% in fight or flight. So I'm trying to fix, fight, almost even flee, like all at the same time. I'm trying to fix the symptom. I'm trying to force it away. I'm literally like fighting with it.
Mhm.
I remember even, I'm a Christian. So I had gone to like a Bible study, and this older woman, I was telling them all my symptoms, everything that's wrong with me, and I I'm, like, crying, and after she's like, "You need to just stop fighting it," and I was
Mhm.
like, "How dare you? Like, I'm not giving up.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna fight it," and I was just so offended by that, but it's true. I I had to let go. Like, I had to surrender a little bit. That drive to fight it because a fearful kind of fight, and I had to kind of step into a more loving, nurturing place, and that's where I started again to look at, like, my holistic well-being, and I started to be like, "Okay, this I need to change this, like, there's things I'm doing that's making this worse."
Mhm.
So, yeah, just the day-to-day was agony. I mean, to not feel like you can breathe is there it's a very distracting kinda thing, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think distraction's kind of interesting concept too when it comes to anxiety, and
Mhm.
so I was so just consumed, distracted. I feel like I missed portions of my kid, like, especially, the baby, our
Mhm.
baby. I didn't when because I had so much pain, I couldn't hold her for very
Mhm.
long. I couldn't pick her up out of her crib, so I missed certain alright, it was very hard too, I still did, but, like, I was just in a lot of pain, so I didn't get to enjoy
Right.
that time with Demi the way, like, I had with Marina, my oldest child, our
Mhm.
oldest daughter, and so, yeah, it was pretty gut-wrenching. It
Yeah.
was pretty consuming. It's hard to not think about my symptoms, and I think that feeds it because I'm then hyper monitoring, like my brain has attached to this symptom. Breathing was a big one for me. That's why my company is called Breathe Well Coaching. So you got breathe and wellness combined together, coaching. But, I couldn't breathe. And so, of course, I'm going to be thinking about that. all
Hmm.
the time. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was really hard to get the space that I needed to start to heal.
Hmm.
And but I learned you can't do that through force. You it's a much more compassionate, surrendered approach.
Hmm. What do you think is more important? Do you think it's possible for someone to habit their way out of this? Like, if they all of a sudden start doing all of these routines, all of these meditations or whatever, like, does that just keep people stuck? Or is the real answer like taking less pressure off yourself and maybe not having the perfect routine?
Yeah. So more often than not, it's the latter. But there are cases, at least that I've worked with clients, where quite literally it's just been a physiological adaptation where
Mm,
they've gotten into the habit of maybe mouth breathing, taking in too much volume of air, or maybe just breathing too fast. Maybe they just had a very short period of stress where they were upregulated their breathing pace and pattern, and emphasize kind of the inhale. So when you do that, your inhale is connected to your sympathetic nervous system state. So this is a little bit of physiology for you. And your exhale is connected to your parasympathetic nervous system state. That's the rest, digest, restore, and recover. And what people don't kind of understand is how closely connected the breath is to that. So if you are breathing too hard, too fast, a lot of times even people who speak a lot, because when you
mm,
speak, you're going to be mouth breathing more.
yeah.
Like I've worked with teachers and stuff like that, where they're speaking a lot, and that's upregulating the nervous system. So sometimes it is just a matter of your biomechanics are terrible. You're taking what I would call a reaching or a reversed breath. You're sucking in on the inhale, which a
Mhm,
lot of people are, and that's medically kind of what we would call a paradoxical breathing pattern. So you
mhm,
suck in on the inhale. What you really need to be doing is letting the diaphragm drop down and expanding on the inhale, kind of like a belly breath, but you also need to expand side and back and in the pelvic floor. So
mm,
sometimes it is a matter of biomechanics. And I've worked with clients where within like 4 sessions, they're feeling better already. They don't have a bunch of hidden trauma, and they haven't been in the pattern of suppressing their emotions, and their thinking's pretty good. That wasn't the case for me. I was a mess.
mhm,
I was a big mess. And so I had to kind of work on all the areas. And a lot of clients I work with, it's not just physical.
mm,
It's some of these other areas. And
yeah.
depending on their past and how long they've had it, it sometimes takes a little bit of time. Like I've worked with clients for a year or so, and then you know finally they're starting to feel better. But some clients it's shorter, so it just kind of depends on what happened to them.
Yeah. I recently I had this realization that, and this is kind of a little bit in a invisible world or a little maybe kind of woohoo or whatever, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. So for me, when I had it, it was bam, smack dab in the middle, right? I would try
Yeah,
and keep that deep breath, and it would feel like there would just be a part right here that would not get any air. It was
yeah,
just stuck. It was glued right there. And someone was talking about, the body and how there's 7 chakras in the body and stuff, right? And the third one right here being one of trust and safety. And it was actually a guy who's a singer, and he was saying a lot of times we think that we need to open up this throat chakra to sing, right? But really, if you don't feel safe enough down here and trusting in yourself to even open this, that you're never going to be able to sing. It's going to be so tight. And a big realization I had for myself was like, oh my God, I wonder how connected it actually is, being that all of this tightness and this invisible pain, this invisible grip was right in that third chakra of trust, of safety. And for me, it was a huge nervous system issue. My nervous system completely crashed because I did not trust myself at all. There was, I'm very brutally hard on myself, and I got
yes,
addicted early on to like weed and nicotine and things like that. And so I was able to quit a lot of them, but there were still some things in my life that I knew I needed to remove. But I would
Yeah.
go a period of time without it, and then I'd relapse on it, and then I'd go a period of time without it and relapse on it. And this effect, it was something like even just this year, it was something as simple as like I really wanted to quit like scrolling on my phone, that dopamine addiction, needing to watch YouTube videos, right? And I would restrict myself very hard, and I would just cut it off and say, all right, I'm not going to do any dopamine for like a month. It was just like just super unrealistic, right? And but whenever I would fail, I would then it just breaks that trust in yourself because you say you're going to do something and you just don't do it. So your
Yeah.
body doesn't believe you just don't feel safe in yourself at all. Your body's like, I don't trust anything you say. You say you're going to wake up and do this, and and I think they're just impossible things that we put on ourselves too. It's like who's
Yeah.
really going to ever achieve that? You know, it doesn't matter how big or small. Like you can
Mhm.
if you say, "Oh, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and drink water." Easy, right? But if you
Yeah.
fail that, your body's gonna be like, I don't trust you. Or if you wake up and say, I'm gonna wake up and pet an elephant tomorrow and you don't do it, your body's gonna be like, you're a liar. I don't trust, there's no self-belief at all. So
That's
what
kind
do
of
you
that
think?
all or nothing, right? That's that all or nothing thinking. And
Hmm.
it's that harsh inner critic and that perfectionism personality kind of popping up like and that's where compassion, I think, and curiosity can really start to diffuse those.
Mm,
But the separation, not feeling like you can trust somebody,
hmm.
connected to separation, disconnect. And I think a lot of our addictions are connected to feeling like we don't belong, feeling like we can't trust ourselves, feeling
Hmm.
that separation. That's why I do think it is somewhat of a spiritual thing. I
Yeah.
don't want to get super preachy, but it's we are spiritual beings too.
Mm,
We're not just a physical body. Um, we have a spirit, a soul, and I think we disconnect there.
yeah.
So, and that's why people have like this just ache, inside of them. And
Yeah.
so I always very respectfully open up the conversation to God
Mm,
about God, about faith, about healing, and just see where it takes me, with
yeah.
clients. Because I found, at least in my own experience, I couldn't just I couldn't heal just on my own. It wasn't just me, you know.
Mm,
I prayed, I had God's help, and it wasn't just me forcing my way through it or just doing breath work and, you
hmm.
know, kind of stuff. It was a whole inner cleaning, a realignment of sorts, right?
Yeah.
Reattachment, realignment is reattachment. And, like
Yeah.
just think about, again, going back to the concept of what if anxiety is separation anxiety,
Hmm.
separation from ourselves, a loving, kind,
Hmm.
nurturing. I call it mothering.
Hmm.
Sometimes I call it I need to mother myself a little bit,
Yeah.
and that was a concept that helped me a lot because I could mother other people, but I was shit mothering myself. So I had to, like, learn how to nurture myself a little bit more and be like, I tend to also have that all or nothing mentality, and when I'm not perfect, I'm just such a jerk. So I had to really work on, and those are your thoughts and your emotions,
Hmm.
and I love teaching when I'm working with clients. I love teaching that our thoughts drive our emotions drive our behaviors, right? And we have to understand that connection there. So anxiety is a pattern, it's a behavior. People will talk about, I'm in this like loop. I feel like I'm in this loop, and it's driven by your thoughts and your emotions. And so
Yeah.
you got to get a little bit of space and understanding between those things.
How important do you think blood sugar regulation is in the mental health and the anxiety thing? Like if you wake up and eat a donut right away, like how much worse is your day going to be as
It's
opposed
gonna
to
feed
like
it.
you
Yeah.
only eat like fat and protein in the morning? Like what are your thoughts on how
And
does diet and all that play
I
into?
love those things because those are the simple things. Like when you're talking
Right.
about emotions and spiritual well-being, those
Yeah.
those are a little bit more difficult. I love those small things we can do to nurture ourselves.
Hmm.
Small habits. And man, do
Yes.
those they really do add up.
Yeah.
Things like I've worked with clients where My sweet client. I hope he doesn't watch this because I'll be
This is
talking
gonna
about.
get the only views this is gonna get are from your people, so don't worry about it.
Well, you might watch it then. Um, he was drinking like 8 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah,
I was like, "Dude, this is revving up your nervous system."
right.
Is it the only cause? No, no, but we have so much power in what our habits and what we're doing and what we're kind of feeding our bodies, not just
Mhm.
nutritionally, but also like content and stuff like that.
Right.
Those I want people to feel empowered that I can start to make small shifts, like increase my hydrate more, cut out alcohol. I'm very against alcohol with people who have anxiety. I'm 100% alcohol free. And I think that was a big helpful piece in my story.
Mhm.
Um, I'm, get around people who are encouraging, who have optimism and they're not negative, and you need to work on your negativity and, your thought life and victim mentality and stuff like that. Our words are very powerful. What we're saying to ourselves, whether we speak them out loud or not, the words in here are very powerful. So
Mhm.
I'm just going to start to kind of like, we're going to look under the hood, is what I call it. Yes, your lifestyle behaviors matter. And if you're feeding yourself sugar, and your blood sugar's spiking, it stimulates the nervous system, right?
Mhm.
But we're also going to look at the under the hood at everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always teach about modulation of the nervous system too. All right. So if you can start to understand that your behaviors sometimes are, you're trying to, um, you're trying to affect or modulate, change your state, your nervous system state. So if you wake up in the morning and you wake up and you're super sleepy,
Mhm.
right? You're like, "Oh, man, I'm so tired." No energy, which you should have energy in the morning when you wake up. Not
Right.
super wired, but you should have vitality and energy. Good night's rest, right? If you wake up and you're tired and you go immediately for the sugar coffee, right? You're trying to stimulate your nervous system. You're trying to, bring it up. If you had a really difficult day, right? And everything's going wrong, you're overwhelmed and you go and you just want to like watch Netflix and binge, and you're trying to access the parasympathetic nervous system. You're trying to calm,
Mhm.
nurture, to support.
Yeah.
Now, not every habit we do helps us, but we have to understand that we are trying, when we reach for that sugary snack, we might be trying to get more energy. We might be trying to stimulate the nervous system. And sometimes if it's already stimulated, then like I said, the client who was drinking like 8 cups of coffee, we slowly weaned him down. We replaced some of the coffee with tea, just kind of having the ritual, which is something he liked. But I mean, that really did help his anxiety. It was kind of a small but big thing. And so
Right.
you can start to look at, all your habits kindly, with curiosity, and start to see what needs to be adjusted.
If if someone was at the absolute lowest point in
Mm,
their life and they were just I want to use more of like a physical example first.
okay.
Let's say the person was like, let's say there was someone in my case where it was a physical induced breakdown, right? It was just completely overworked, over pressured, over everything. They just completely break down. Okay.
I'm like,
Now,
is
yeah, of course, this is a secret coaching session that I'm trying to get from you, of course.
it? Let's go under the hood. Okay.
So now I'm 25 years old, right? I have some room. I don't have responsibilities like that. I can take time and just be like, no, I need to rest and recover, right? But
Mhm.
not everyone can have that, opportunity. Some people have a family, some people have responsibilities. They can't just say, hey, let me
Yeah.
just do nothing for 2 months and let me recover, right? So is it necessary? Like if someone, now if it's like a mental thing, right? Like if it's mental anxiety where maybe they don't know how to speak their mind and they're avoiding some type of confrontation that they need to do that's stressing them out, or
Anxiety or something like that.
yeah,
Yes.
something that isn't really like too much of a physical breakdown. But I'm wondering more on the physical side. Like if someone is working a job and they have been for the past, let's say 25 years, they're working a 9 to 5 under artificial lights and they're just brutally breaking themselves down with work and stress. And when they go home, they're eating bad and their body just eventually breaks down. Can that person get out of that without quitting their job, without anything? Or does there actually need to be a period where, like, no, dude, you need to literally stop, rest, and recover?
No, I mean, I think you can definitely, I mean, I got out of it. I had 2 young kids. Like,
Mhm.
um, it's that another kind of not this business, but another business. Like, I think you can get out. I think that's just kind of a victim mentality that people will kind of limit themselves in certain ways. You don't you don't get stronger. You don't get
Mhm.
more resilient without stress,
Mhm.
right? You need stress. We're not looking for a stress-free life.
Right.
That's dead people's goals,
Mhm.
right? Like, we're not looking to never have anxiety again. We're not looking to ever have trouble again. What we want is to build our resiliency to it. So that
Mhm.
does not mean you stop everything you're doing, go into hibernation. Like, that's just gonna make it worse,
Mhm.
I think. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I think you have to, like you mentioned, you're working these long hours, you're totally burnt out, you go home, and then you're just, like, eating terrible food. Like, there's something to change. Maybe it's the wrong job
Mhm.
potentially. Maybe you need some better boundaries
Right.
with how you work, but again, that's going back to your I'm such a dork. Your little wellness wheel, and it's
I
saying,
remember seeing this.
yeah, I'm sure you do. Here's your little wellness wheel, and it's getting into better alignment in your life. So,
Yeah.
I have had clients who were completely in the wrong job.
Mhm.
Like, their nervous system was telling them. It was
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no, no." Like,
Yes.
that's gonna hit your occupational, wherever that is on here. So that's gonna hit your occupational, it's gonna hit your environmental well-being. That's
Mhm.
gonna that's gonna be really low and depleted. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I think a part of the work that I do with people is kind of life-changing and transformational because they start to really look at their whole self and say, "Where am I out of alignment?" But
Uh-huh.
does that mean you completely stop everything you're doing just to go and kind of heal? I think that's gonna make you more weak. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna make you stronger.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
cut.
only way out is through. The only way
Yeah.
out is through is kind of like a thing that's helpful, I think, for people to think. The avoidance and safety behaviors make your anxiety worse. They
Right.
weaken you.
Yeah. I was more curious because, like, for example, if you have a wound on your body, right? You
Mhm,
get a wound from a very, very traumatic thing, right? And even
mhm,
if you scratch that wound like just a
mhm.
little bit, it'll never heal, right? As opposed to if you give that wound time to heal and you just freaking scratch the hell out of it, nothing happens. It's so resilient, right?
But
So
you can't
I'm,
quit life. You can't quit life,
mm,
you know? Yes, you need to nurture,
mm,
you know? You might need to change some things, but I just don't think that it ever would help to completely, you know, check out. I think
yeah,
it's I just I think it's gonna be there when you come back. Like,
yeah,
here we are again. It's not dealing with it.
right. So it's
That's
more of a
it.
adjustment thing, adjusting the things that you can control that are really hurting you.
Yeah, there's a couple YouTube or TED Talks that
Mm,
I love to give, like, new clients, and one is by Tim Box, and it's called "Anxious About Being Anxious."
yeah,
So helpful. Like, that was one thing that really, so it wasn't one thing, it was little things that were kinda helping me because I had this willingness and this courage to go through it. That I can just remember when I was right in that room, leaving my oldest daughter's room, and I was listening. I went to go sit on the couch and I listened to this whole um, TED talk, and I was like, "Holy moly, life changing!" So if you're experiencing anxiety, I think that's a good one to go to. And then
Yeah.
the other one, I might say his name wrong. I think it's Johan Hari, but he does a TED talk that's called "This This Might Be Why You're Depressed or Anxious." And that one changed my life too. And what he kind of talks about in that one is he's been on antidepressants for years. They had to keep upping his medication, right? But he still like felt awful. And he talks about all the other ways, some of them are lifestyle behavior things that you can do to have stronger mental health. It's very empowering. And that one really shifted it for me as well. I
Yeah.
thankfully think I saw both of those TED Talks before I went to that doctor's appointment, and I think those
Mhm.
influenced me being strong enough to say, "You know what? I'm not gonna go for that right now. I wanna kinda raw dog this and do it myself," right? Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go for it. I'm gonna change and transform things that need to change in my life. Radical responsibility.
Yeah.
Taking ownership, and I feel I'm 7 years away from all this. It was hard for me to reflect on the symptoms and how terrible it was. I'm doing more now. I'm capable of so much more now because I've healed so many wounds. I
Yeah.
mean, stuff I didn't even know was in there. Journaling, expressive writing was a big part of something, a tool that really supported me because I had detached from my emotions completely. Like I didn't
Mhm.
want to feel when I worked with a therapist on this one. And I did some EMDR for trauma. So I did use, I used resources to help me. I'm always about that. I think we do need support when we're trying to heal. But I
Yeah.
didn't even know what like half the emotions were. I was so
Gosh.
detached. He's like, these are my emotion wheel now. Now I know how to feel and not stuff. And emotions are energy in motion. Energy in motion. They have to move somewhere. And a lot of us were never taught how to regulate our emotions. We usually just dismiss them or push them down. And
Mhm.
then they don't go anywhere. They're still here. They're still inside of us. And so we have to learn how to express our emotions either verbally, written, kinesthetically through the body, or creatively, or through worship and prayer. Like there's ways that you can express your emotions. I never knew this. I was like, "What?" You know? Hmm? Say what? I never knew how to actually do it. And so I
Mhm.
think that's one of my strengths as a coach is I'll take these complex things, like mindfulness, and I'll break it down into practical steps.
Yeah.
Instead of these big concepts or wellness, people when they think wellness, they're like, "Oh, wellness spa. I'm gonna go get like a procedure done or something." I don't know what they think. They think only physical, but I teach well-being is much more than just your physical well-being. All of it contributes into your health and your nervous system. And so I try to take these big concepts and I try to teach them and make them actionable because that's what helped me.
Yeah. Speaking of making things complicated, I think whenever we're in an anxious thought cycle, all we
Yeah.
do is overcomplicate everything and overthink everything, right?
Yeah.
If if someone was in it, in the thick of it, where you
Mm,
were, where I were, just right in the middle of it, what would be just like the simplest things that someone could do to get right on out of it? Like if you were talking to young Aaron,
mm,
if you were talking to Matthew now,
mm,
if you were could just say everything that like all of the crap that didn't work, all of that gone,
mm,
gone, gone. Just the most simple step by step. This is exactly how you get out of it. That's so simple. And this is how you get to your resilience back, your life back, your freedom back. What would that look like?
mm. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. But and I think that's I think people today are just like, give me the one exercise, give
Ah,
me the
yeah.
one fix. And I'm like, that's your problem, right? Like, just give me the pill, give me the one thing. I just want to do that. And I'm like, you're missing it. Like, we're talking transformation. Things are going to have to change.
Hmm.
And so it's many little steps.
Right.
It's many little things. But I think the one thing you need for that is kind of that willingness. I've said it a few times, or courage to turn towards yourself. Stop looking outside of you for all these solutions that you think, but you got to turn towards yourself and really look at like you start to okay connect with yourself. What do I need to change? What needs healing? What needs restoration? Get honest, right? Like if you're looking out, I think you're gonna find it. I mean, at least in my experience, and at this point I've worked with hundreds and probably influenced thousands of people. So I've seen it in different ways, right? Like it, and it's always kind of the same thing. Like people are just kind of, they're looking for somebody to save them almost, or they're looking for like one thing. And I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's gonna be a process.
I love that every time I talk to you, I get caught out on something.
With love.
With love, you are the most courageous mother spirit I think I've ever met.
Oh
Okay,
man.
I'm gonna go to my question vault, the ones that I don't want to forget. Okay.
Okay. Give me
Okay.
the
So,
one thing.
give me the one thing now. Okay, what are some of your hobbies outside of this whole anxiety
Oh,
breathwork realm? What
I
is
am
Aaron, the little kid Aaron, like?
I I'm such a like I love to learn. Like I am constantly read. I don't read. I listen
Got
to
it.
books.
Reading is not the one thing. I'll write that down. Don't do reading for healing. Got
I, I
it.
love to be active. I love to be in nature. So, and I love to explore. So I'll literally like go by myself, pick a park that I've never been to, listen to a book. I love Christian books. There's certain Christian books that I've read that are like so amazing.
Mhm.
Um, Don't let the enemy have a seat at your table is one. Gosh, what's another one? Now my mind went blank. Oh, turn your life around or get your life back. I think there's just so many good, encouraging things out there, right? And I
Mhm.
just feel like you got to kind of seek. And I'm a learner. Like I should have known that. I used to work at in universities and teach college kids, and so I've been an educator for a long time. But I'm really just I learn my clients. Oh, my clients have taught me so much.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm always trying to like grow and learn, and I'm very curious. I'm always researching something. Like I'm interested in death right now. Um, I'm
Wow.
like, I know. I'm like, I'm going there. I just want to like learn about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So as these things in my life have come up, as I've figured out that I have like a little bit of victim mentality, then I study it. Because
Mhm.
what I learned from this Harvard doctor where she said, our first response is usually like fear.
Mhm.
And the only thing that changes that fear response is education. And I was like, yes, like I can do that. Like I can learn, I can grow. And that knowledge starts to shift. It really does change your kind of subconscious beliefs. Now, not if you're consuming things that are like doom and gloom and you're on Reddit and it's like you're gonna die and this is the word. Like there's things that probably don't help that aren't educating you, but there's a lot of people out there who've gone through similar experiences like what we have, who are willing and open and kind of teaching and sharing so you can learn from people. And then I think that leads to transformation. I've grown so much in the last 7 years. Like I don't even recognize who I was. I mean, I see her, but I'm very
Mhm.
different now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just through learning. So other than that, my husband and I do residential construction. So I do real estate, and I'm like a superintendent. I'm like out there with my fanny pack, and I'm like lifting things and,
I
managing.
wanted to I wanted to put that in your bio, but I didn't know how to properly say it. I didn't want to put like a term that just completely undervalued you.
Yeah, what would I mean, I design it, I purchase everything, I run the job sites, a lot of communication, and my husband's in commercial construction, so he's my boss. So that's interesting working with your spouse. What else do oh, we love boating. We love to explore. Our dream is to, in the next few years, to take our kids out of school and to live on a sailboat and travel, the Caribbean, and then maybe up
Oh
into
my
like the
God.
Great Loop. And so we'll be
I'm
doing that.
rooting for you.
Yes, yes. So it's my husband's dream, but I've attached to it too because I'm like,
That's amazing.
that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
He's very capable. I've learned a lot from him as well, his experience. We're very different, but he has radical responsibility. Like, he owns his mess. He's empowered in a lot of ways, and so I've learned a lot from him. And I think if you kind of look at your connections, like if you kind of look at what can we learn from each other, and you kind of have this, like, I don't know, curious spirit, maybe. You can
Yeah.
always learn from people. And like, that's exciting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love learning from people.
Oh, I love to exercise. I hardly miss a workout, and that's really for my mind.
Yeah.
I love to exercise and lift, and I've been a
Nice.
personal trainer for years. I don't really train anybody that much anymore,
Mm.
besides myself, but I love feeling strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's social media. I have to ask you this question. Everyone's dying to know this. What is your morning and evening routine?
Ooh. So
Wait, hold on. I want to add to it. Because I want to know what your whole daily routine looks like from morning to evening. I want to know, like, how do
yeah,
you, with overcoming this anxiety and stuff, like, I feel like even in my journey, like, I'm constantly changing the way I train or whatever to help allow
yeah,
me to, not break myself down more. But how does from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, what is your routine? How many days are you training? Floor
yeah,
is
yeah.
yours, girl.
Sure. I like that. I like that. So, morning routine for me, at least of this season right now, because my kids are kind of getting up around, my husband gets up really early, like four
Mhm.
something. And I wake up and I make him breakfast before he leaves. So
Wow.
I get him settled for. And I like see him off, So
Mhm.
that's usually right around 5:30 when he leaves. He leaves for work at 5:30. And then if I'm tired, I go back to sleep. I'll be honest with you. And then I wake up at 6:30. If I'm not super tired, then I go and I sit and I listen to worship music first. I think that's really good for my soul. So I love just beautiful music. I'll listen to it kind of quietly, and then my black lab comes up and he lays on my lap, and it's like the best thing ever. Like, it is our time. You'll see on at least my personal social media accounts, there's always pictures, like selfies of me and Bowie, like resting in our morning chair. So I kind of wake up slow a little bit, like
Mhm.
I like ease into my morning. Yes, it's early, but I'm a mom, and that's just, the season I'm in. And then I like to, whatever I'm studying in scripture, because I think the first thing we kind of set our eyes on sets us up for the day. So I want to read scripture. I want to read something in the Bible. I want to read something, I want to learn something about God and, who he says I am, what my identity is. And so I usually do some type of Bible study or read the Bible. Um, and that's kind of where I start. And then it's kind of, get my kids up, feed them. I usually eat around that time. I don't work out until about like 8:30. So I'll take my first client at 10 a.m. most days, and I'll do my workout in the morning right after I drop them off from school. Love that. And
Do
yeah,
you
and then
eat
it's
before the gym? Do you eat
Yeah.
before the gym? Yeah.
Yeah, when I make my kids food, I eat. So I eat, I'll drink coffee or tea.
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of a lot of food. So I'm not a faster. I found fasting for me, at least, unless it's a spiritual fast or like a longer fast, but a daily fast for my nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
you do not want to be around me if I haven't had breakfast. Like, I'm just like, ooh. So I have a pretty, like a 30 grams of protein, some fiber,
Okay. So no
some
Cheerios.
no Cheerios. No, I like a
Okay.
good amount of protein in the morning I like veggies. Sometimes I have like sauteed veggies from the dinner before. I'll have them after. I'm like the
Nice.
leftover queen. And then just like some berries or some kind of good fiber, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the morning. And that's pretty typical for me. And then, yeah, I like to lift probably 4 to 5 days a week.
Nice.
Yeah, probably 4 to 5 days a week. I used to like cardio a lot more. I don't like it as much. A walk is fine for me. And this one of the job sites is kind of close. It's in our neighborhood, so I'm always walking to that. So I get kind of like some ADLs through
Yeah.
some my ADLs are kind of high for that. And yeah, the day is always clients, middle of the
Mm-hmm.
day is clients or other things with work, and then I go pick up the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and, then it's kinda play and then dinner. Yeah, it's kinda simple, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, my husband sometimes makes it home for dinner, a lot of times doesn't because he really does construction is long hours, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'll, eat with the girls, and then when my husband comes home, we like to take walks, like, we like to be outside. He's an outdoors person too. We love, like, when we can, hiking and camping and all like, everything in nature. And so we'll, like, walk and hang out. We'll watch a show sometimes at night, or when we put the kids to bed, we usually still read them stories, like, they're 9 and 6, and we're still doing the whole bedtime routine. We don't know how much longer it's gonna last, when they're gonna maybe not wanna be around us as much, but right now, they still think we're cool, and, that's good. So we're kinda savoring that.
Yeah.
We're closer to the teenage years where I know my oldest is gonna get a little more independent, and, yeah, that's it. Rinse and
Amazing.
repeat. Yeah. The
My
weekends
last.
for me, I like, are for fun. Like, the weekends are for fun, the weekends are for family. We are chilling. Friends, are
Mm-hmm.
maybe less of a priority right now in our life than ever.
Mm-hmm.
We're very social people, my husband and I, and so we used to, like, go and do more, but, like, right now, this season has been very much about, like, our little unit, our family, small church life, like, it's been very simple and very sweet the last several years.
Amazing. My last question for you, Erin.
What's the
Where
one
can people where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you?
Sure, yeah, I'm at Breathe Well Coaching, and that's my handle, like, on everything, so, mostly I'm on YouTube, I would say, because 'cause I'm an educator, and I think that's a good platform for longer, kind of not 1 minute, "What's the one thing?" 1 tip for anxiety. That's not for me,
Yeah.
so I'm more of a YouTuber, and yeah, breathewellcoaching.com too, I have a website, so you can go to that, and I have a small blog. And yeah, I'm kind of a small channel. I'm growing.
My recommendation for everyone watching is go watch Erin's breathwork videos on her YouTube channel. They're
Yeah,
amazing. Do one first thing in the morning for her long exhales. Listen to her.
mhm,
They're perfect. They work.
yeah, yeah,
All right, Erin. I'm gonna end this, but I want you to hang out in this lobby after because I want to talk to you after this. So,
yeah.
but I just want to thank you so much for doing this with me. You're amazing.
Oh, and I do get breath work with my clients during, like, the day. So that's kinda my breath work times. And between clients, I like to go outside and kinda just do, like, 10 minutes of
Mm,
nothing. Like, not
nice.
even moving. I'm just like and I lay in the with my dog.
Nice.
Again, my dog, he's my, therapy pet.
Amazing. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Go give Erin a subscribe.
Well, breathe well.